Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do this difference quotient handout, but we're actually going to skip. We'll save this one for later. This is a harder one. Let's do an easier one first. So this is called the difference quotient. And the difference quotient is something that you'll use in calculus. It'll help you find, you'll start talking about limits and derivatives and all sorts of fancy stuff. What we're going to do is we are going to evaluate f of a plus h and f of a in this problem. So everywhere I see an x, I need to plug in a plus h. So I'm going to say 2 times, instead of x, I'm plugging in a plus h, and then we have a plus 1. So this is f of a plus h. Now the difference quotient is f of a plus h, and then I have to subtract, so I'm going to put a minus sign, f of a. So if I did the same thing, I'm going to plug in a everywhere I see an x. This would be 2a plus 1. And the whole thing is over h. So it's just a formula you're following, but you need to plug in a plus h for x and a for x. Now, once you've done that, you're going to simplify by distributing. So this would be 2a plus 2h plus 1. And then this is a minus 1, so we distribute that. That'd be minus 2a and minus 1. If you forget to distribute the negative, you're going to have a bad time. Because what's supposed to happen now is these terms should both cancel out. So we see now 2a and negative 2a, 1 and negative 1, those cancel out. So the only thing that's left is 2h over h. And the last thing you can do, the h's can cancel out, and you just get 2. So the difference quotient, you plug in f of a plus h minus f of a, and the whole thing simplifies to just 2 in this problem. Let's try another one. Let's do another of the easier ones. So how about we do this guy? On the back, the 3x minus 8 problem. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring that difference quotient down here so I can see it while I'm working. Same thing, 3 times a plus h minus 8. And then I'm going to do minus f of a. So now I've plugged in a plus h. That's right here. Now I need to plug in a. So 3a minus 8. And the whole thing is over h. From here on out, you're just simplifying the numerator, and eventually we're going to have to factor out an h. So let's simplify the numerator. 3a plus 3h minus 8. And then you have to distribute the negative. So minus 3a plus 8 all over h. And like I said before, these should cancel out. So do they? 3a, negative 8, positive 8. Awesome. So you have 3h over h. And here, the h's cancel out, and you just get 3. So for that one, we get 3. Now we're going to do one that's got a quadratic. So this is where they're a little bit harder. Let's come up here and do one that's got a quadratic. This is a little bit more work, so I might actually need a little bit more space. I think I'm going to screenshot this and we'll do it on the next slide. Okay, so when you're taking the function f of x, that's x squared minus x. So you need to be thinking x squared minus x, x squared minus x. But instead of x, I'm going to put a plus h. So it's really a plus h squared minus a plus h. A plus h squared minus a plus h. That is f of a plus h. If you plug a plus h in everywhere you see an x, which is 2 places, you get this. So that's f of a plus h. I need to do the same thing now with f of a. So minus, in parentheses, instead of x squared minus x, it's going to be a squared minus a. You should never have any x's anywhere in this problem. It's always a's and h's because you're plugging in a's and h's. Now the whole thing is over h. So we're going to have to simplify this. But before we do that, we're going to take a little side detour here and say, wait a minute, this is not a squared plus h squared. I will stop grading. You did it wrong. You don't know what you're doing if you distribute the exponents. When you see a binomial squared, you need to write it out. A plus h times a plus h, which is a times a squared, plus a times h, plus a times h, plus h squared. So when that simplifies, it's a squared plus 2ah plus h squared. If you simplify this wrong, you are definitely gonna miss the whole thing, and you're not even gonna be close. So that's the first thing. You need to understand that when you expand this binomial, you get a squared plus 2ah, that middle term really matters, plus h squared. Now I'm gonna get rid of all this because I've got that first part now. So this guy is expanded, but I have other stuff. So I have to distribute the minus, so it'd be minus a minus h, and then minus a squared and plus h. And that's all over h. So the most important thing here is right there, you need to make sure that you understand those two things are equivalent. One is expanded. Now I'm going to look to see if anything canceled out. Hopefully something did. The a squareds cancel out. And wait, why is that an h? What's this? Where did that come from? Minus a minus. That should be a plus a. I might have been saying h. That should be a plus a. There we go. Okay, so minus a negative a is plus a. Those cancel out too. Good. So what's left? 2ah plus h squared minus h all over h. And this is the other place that I will see all sorts of crazy stuff, and people are like, Mr. Y, why do you make this so hard? I'm telling you, you don't just cross those out. You don't cross these out. You don't cross those out. You need to factor the h out of the numerator. If you want to cancel an h, you need to factor an h out of the numerator. So if I factor an h out of this, I get 2a plus. If I factor an h out of this, I get h. And if I factor an h out of this, I get 1. It's still all over h. If you think of this division, this fraction bar as division, and then you're like, oh, this is multiplication. Those two things cancel each other out. Now you're in the game. That's why you need to think about it. The only thing that's left is 2a plus h minus 1, and that is your answer. So this is called the difference quotient, and it is just a long algebraic process that is extremely fundamental and important in calculus. Go ahead and try and finish the other ones. The key is posted on Schoology so you can check your answers, and hopefully I'm back from my meeting soon. Good luck, guys.